Oh, it ends so quickly and so abruptly. Come on, guys. Where's the outro music? There's nothing wrong with maybe playing something tasteful. And you leave me with 2 minutes to vamp here. You're listening to WFMU East Orange. WXHD. See, this is part of vamping when you pad something out like this. You're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope, worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. My name is Tom Scharpling, and we have 15 seconds till the show can begin. This is the pregame, so everybody get your sodas and your popcorn out and get ready. The show begins in 4, 3. Oh, there it is. It began already. Okay, hey, everybody. You're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope, worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. This is the best show on WFMU. My name is Tom Scharpling. I'll be your host for the next 3 hours. I know people have emailed saying, where's the show intro? It's in the shop getting fixed. It will be back soon. Oh, and wait till you hear it. You'll wish that the show was just 3 hours of the show intro by the time. The regular show will actually pale in comparison to the show intro. Tonight's special guest, author/rock critic Michael Azerrad, will be on the program in about an hour. In the meantime, we're going to listen to some records. So, check this out. Here's Mission of Burma on WFMU.
Once I had my heroes, once I had my dream, but all of that is changed now. Get the things inside out. Truth is not that complicated.
creation of man. I work my way backwards using cynicism. The time monitor, the space measurer.
Hey, everybody. You're listening to WFMU East Orange. My name is Tom Scharpling, your host here on the best show on WFMU, which is here every Tuesday night from 8 until 11 p.m. As the announcer says, 180 minutes worth of mirth, music, and mayhem. I'm here on the other side of the glass is Dave, the co-producer of the program, one of the 6 co-producers, I might add. 4 of them are silent co-producers, just who have a financial stake in the program. The other one is me, and then there's Dave. And we're adding 3 more co-producing slots. So we're going to be having board meetings throughout the month of December. So you know who might be on the board of directors for the co-producers would be Roddy Bottom. He was in the band Faith No More. He's a candidate. Rudy Giuliani's up in the running. We have the Steve Malsberg, the guy from WABC, is up possibility. There was George Papard Jr., the son of the actor, is up. Is a possible candidate. All kinds of people. We'll see who makes the board of co-producers for the program. Won't that be an exciting day when there's more co-producers than listeners to the show? Oh, that'll be a red letter day. So anyway, as you might have heard, later in the program we have a special guest, author Michael Azerrad, who has a new book out documenting the American indie underground from 1981 to 1991. We're going to talk all about that with him later in the show. But in the meantime, we've been playing music that is representative of that era. And we just heard from Dinosaur, or Dinosaur Jr., your call. From their second album, You're Living All Over Me, we heard Sludge Feast. From the Zen Arcade album by Husker Du, the double album, Whatever. I believe that was from 84. Is that 84? I think so. The Minutemen from their double album, Double Nickels on the Dime. We heard The Glory of Man. And starting us off, Mission of Burma. Their smash hit, That's When I Reach for My Revolver, from the Signals, Calls, and Marches record. From, what's that, 81, I believe? In the meantime, though, that's Michael Azerrad 40 minutes away. In the meantime, it is Open Phone Tuesday. Whatever you wish to discuss, 201-200-9368 is the number. The email address, toms@wfmu.org, toms@wfmu.org. I'm looking for my friend Kacper to call in. We had discussed something with him last week. He had done an oral report about this show in his in one of his college classes. And we were talking all about that when we were so rudely interrupted by the Smirnoff Ice representative. Open Phone Tuesday. Get in on the action. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Matt.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Are you doing well? Come on, Matt, get with the program. Turn the radio down.
Well, yeah, I just want to talk about like GameCube and stuff.
Okay. Is your radio off?
What?
Did you turn your radio off?
Turn off my radio? Yeah, it's off.
It's off?
Yeah.
Good. What do you want to talk about? The GameCube? The Nintendo GameCube.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it last week.
Did you get two?
No.
Yeah, one for me? One
No,
for me,
no.
one for you?
No, I don't have enough money.
You don't have enough money? What games did you get?
I got Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah,
Is that
I
a,
don't
is
have
that a,
money
is
'cause I
that a
live
Star
in-
Wars game?
Yeah,
And how is it?
it's good.
Do you fly an X-Wing?
What?
Do you fly an X-Wing in it?
Not fly plane.
A plane. So it's one of those Star Wars games where you fly planes.
Mhm.
Like they haven't... You're on the planet where they haven't gotten into outer space yet. You're just flying like what? What is it, like a biplane?
No. I fly. Wait, I'm talking about planes. I fly like a plane.
In the game Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
But it is a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
But you fly planes in it. You're
yeah.
losing me here. What do you do in the game? Where are you flying? Are you flying in space?
No, I'm in Hackensack. I come from...
I understand you're not in outer space, Matt.
What?
Hey, Matt, how old are you?
Like 11, 12?
You're not sure? Like, we're somewhere in there.
Yeah.
11 or 12. You haven't done the math yet.
Yeah.
What's wrong? You sound distracted, son.
No, I just have a lot of things to do. Just have to make money. Because, I'm in Hackensack.
You have to make money because you're in Hackensack.
Yeah.
How are you making money? Paper route?
Yeah.
Raking leaves?
Yeah, that too.
Dog walking?
Yeah, because I represent the Hackensack. I have to keep my city clean.
You are completely confusing. I don't even know what to say. You have stumped me.
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah.
Get off my phone. How dare you. WFMU, you're on the air.
Oh, hello. I'm just calling to say hi. This is Kacper.
Hey, Kacper, how you doing?
Hello.
So, you started to tell us last week about this this report you did.
Yes.
In what class was it?
Radio culture.
Radio culture at what college?
Brooklyn College.
At Brooklyn College, and this is so this was an oral report, though, right? You had to stand up in front of the room.
Yes.
And how many people are in this class, if you don't mind me asking?
Like 13.
13 people in the class. So your report was about what?
Well, everyone in the class had to do a presentation about an interesting radio program.
Uh-huh.
So, and they had to, talk about it. So that's what I did. I just talked about the radio program.
You talked about this program.
Yes.
And, what kind of stuff did you bring up?
Well, mostly I just gave a little background information.
Can you do some of the report for us now?
Oh, I'm afraid it's been so long and I forgot everything.
Well, just try to try hitting hit the marks, the emphasis points.
Well, I really didn't have any good points to make. But my teacher, he made a point, and he said that one thing that keeps the listeners listening is because they want to know if it's real or not, if the callers are real or not. So that's what he said.
Mm-hmm. Now, what segments did you play from the show? You said you played things in the classroom, which I might add, I'm still talking to my lawyer about the legality of that.
Uh-oh. Well, I played the segment. Remember when you had that worst caller? The guy who asked you why you didn't play Led Zeppelin in the air?
The guy who asked me why I didn't play Led Zeppelin?
Yes, and he had this strange voice, and you said that was the worst call in history.
Uh-huh.
So I used him.
Okay.
And I used the first segment when Kid 1 called. I used a part of that.
Okay.
And I used a part of, remember when you interviewed Tony Torgvork?
Oh, Mr. Loophole.
Yes, that's right. So I used that.
So you played some of that, and what did the class... Now, when the class stopped laughing hysterically, right?
Yes.
When that finally subsided and you could get a word in edgewise, and when they stopped cheering,
yes,
when they finally sat down from the standing ovation,
yes,
What was their reaction to the stuff you played?
Well, they were very impressed with the programming, and I was surprised that they haven't heard it before, and they weren't even aware of WFMU, so I had to tell them about it, and they said that they'd volunteer, but I'm not sure if they really did or not.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think anyone from your class is listening tonight?
Oh, I'm not sure. A lot of them have to go to work, and they're really busy.
Uh-huh.
But it would be nice if they were.
Now, what kind of grade did you get on this report?
Oh, I'm not really sure what I got because the teacher didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I got, like, the clips that I played got a bigger reaction than any of the other clips that anybody else played. Mm. So I think it went pretty well.
So, like, what other shows did people play clips from?
Oh, they played, like, sports commentaries.
So, like, who? Like Mike and the Mad Dog?
Yes.
So they played some of Mike and the Mad Dog, and who else?
Well, they played something from that, like Opie and Anthony, something like that.
Okay.
But I don't like their humor very much.
Yeah, yes.
And
so you're saying that I beat Mike and the Mad Dog and Opie and Anthony?
Yes.
Who else did they play? I just want to know who else I vanquished in this, in the arena of the classroom.
Well, a couple of people brought, like, some old shows.
Like what kind of stuff? Like The Shadow?
Yeah, something like that.
Fibber, McGee, and Molly?
Yeah, something like
Fred
that.
Allen?
Mm-hmm. So the sound quality wasn't very good for that.
Mm-hmm. But this was just, when you played the stuff, where did you get the stuff from? From the internet?
Well, some of it I had taped already, and some of it I got from the internet.
Okay. So when you played it was just crystal clear?
Of course.
Everyone was just, first of all, impressed with the fidelity.
Yes.
So you just were ahead of the game right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the work was done for me already.
Now, what would be the chance of me coming in and lecturing your class?
Well, I'm sure if you wanted to, that would be really easy.
If I wanted to come in and speak to you, how about this?
Yeah.
What would be the possibility of you bringing your class here? Bringing all your fellow classmates here, live on the show. We have them up here from 8 until 11 at night on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Not possible? Not probable? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know.
You should talk. What's your teacher's name?
Oh, his name is Mr. Spinelli.
Okay, let's call him. Do you have his home number?
Oh no, I don't have his phone number.
You don't? Not on the you don't have it on the little syllabus there for the semester?
Oh, perhaps I do, but it would take me a little time to find it.
You should find it, then we can call him on the air, right?
Yes.
And then we can ask about having his class up here. Maybe, you know how like you do like field trips in school? Mm-hmm. You could do a field trip to this station.
Yes.
And watch how the show is, like you get to see the behind-the-scenes stuff, like when I go to the soda machine and buy a soda. Which,
yeah.
I mean, that's just like one detail that you don't know about behind, like that makes this show. Like, it's like the inner workings of the show. Or like when I, put a phone call on the air. You can actually watch me press the buttons.
Wow.
Wow is right. Wouldn't that be just... How's your little brother doing?
Oh, he's doing fine.
I have to say I met Kacper and his little brother at the record fair a few weeks ago. That was nice of you to bring your little brother to it. Is he a fan of the station?
Sure, he likes it.
What's his favorite show on the station?
Well, he likes your show, and he likes Greasy Kid stuff.
So he's kind of right in the middle. So he's like getting weaned off of Greasy Kid stuff and coming into like listening to this show.
Yes.
So it's like it's a process, as we say. Mm-hmm. He's growing up. It's hard to grow up, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Do you look after your little brother?
Yes, I try.
You keep him out of trouble? You keep his nose clean?
Yes.
Have you ever had to discipline him?
Well, sometimes he watches too much TV, so I told him, no more TV for you.
You know what you should do if you have to discipline him?
What?
You send him out into the yard.
Uh-huh.
And you make him pick his own switch. Right?
Uh-huh.
Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like a branch
Oh.
off of like a little, off of a tree or a bush. You make him pick his own switch, and then he brings it in, and then you thrash him with it.
Oh, that's not
Right?
nice.
You just thrash him,
Oh. Mhm.
and then you say to him, that'll teach you a lesson, young man. Do you think he would like that?
No, he wouldn't like that at all.
But you know what you'd say to him?
What?
This is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt you. And then you know what you would start to do?
What?
Hurt him.
Oh.
And you know what the great thing about that thing is? It wouldn't hurt you in the slightest. Because he would be the one getting thrashed.
Oh.
So will you do that live on the air?
No.
You will not thrash your little brother with a switch that you forced him to pick?
No, I can't do that.
Come on.
Besides, he's not even here right now.
Where is he?
He's at a friend's house.
At the arcade?
Maybe.
Well, Kacper, anything else to tell me about the report? Anything else exciting happen with it?
Well, the report was really exciting, but I don't know if I could say this on the air, but
We'll try.
Brooklyn College has a really good radio station of its own.
Oh, you're plugging another radio station. Oh, my God.
Yeah, but the
Are you a DJ on that station?
Yes.
When is your show on?
Well, it's on Thursdays
Thursdays from when until when?
from 3 to 4
3 to 4 a.m. or p.m.?
p.m. But the problem is that the station is like in big debt, and they used to broadcast on the internet, but they don't do that anymore.
So is it like a carrier current station?
Yeah, so you can't really listen to it anywhere.
So I'd have to drive on campus to listen to the station.
Yes, and you'd have to go to the studio.
So basically you're playing records for yourself. Is that what you're doing, more or less?
Basically, but I don't really play music on my show.
What do you do, a lot of talk?
Something like that.
Like what kind of stuff do you talk? You know what I'm going to do right now for you, Kacper?
What?
I'm going to give you your big break.
What's that?
You have the next 1 minute to do. We're going to get like a sliver of your show on my show. Okay?
Oh, no, I don't think I can do that.
Oh, come on.
Because
Here we go.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kacper Show. Now on WFMU, go.
Oh, I can't do this because you see on my show, I do everything in advance and I tape everything in advance. So that way I don't have any pressure to do anything live, and it's much easier that way. And it's better that way. And that's the only way to go. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So, are you there? Because I don't really have anything to say because I'm not very prepared.
You're the host.
Is that a minute already?
No, you have another 45 seconds to go.
That's okay. But when are you going to send out your membership cards?
They're coming soon.
Really?
Coming soon.
Because
Oh,
that's
we're
what you said 2 months
Oh,
ago.
trust me, they're close this time. I swear this time they're close. They were close then.
Mm-hmm.
They have never been as close as they are now. I've seen them.
Really?
They're laid out. We're waiting for just like one little piece of artwork to add to it.
Uh-huh.
I was going to take them on Friday, but the artwork didn't come through until it should be. I should have it waiting for me tonight.
Really?
And we will add. It will go to the printer this week.
Wow.
You have my word.
And when are you going to mail them out?
About 7 months after they show up.
Oh, no.
No, I'll get right to it.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
You'll be the first ones to get them, too.
Oh.
That's the exciting thing.
All right.
So you're not interested in hosting even 30 seconds of programming on this show?
Well, I prepare like my tapes in advance because I do little plays and things like that.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't like being on the spot, so
Uh-huh.
I just prepare everything in advance.
What do you mean, like a little play? Like something that you act out yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
Like what kind of stuff? Stuff you write yourself?
Yes. Well, like 2 weeks ago, I did something about Alex the dinosaur, and he goes into a microwave and he gets into Dimension Y, and then he meets telescope people. So that was one of my shows.
But say that again? I completely you lost me. Say that again.
Well, it was kind of absurdist, so it's kind of hard to understand it.
Well, just try me one more time, please.
Okay. Well, my last show was about Alex the dinosaur,
Uh-huh.
and he went into a microwave.
He went into a microwave.
Yes.
Okay.
And then he got into another dimension.
Through the microwave.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then he met like telescope people.
People that were like, when you say telescope people, what do you mean? Like shaped like telescopes?
Yes.
So is the stuff, who's it geared toward?
Well, I don't really know. I guess to myself because nobody else is really listening.
Uh-huh. Do you ever get any feedback on your show from anyone?
Oh yes.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, the people at the studio who like volunteer there and help out, they like my show, and when I go there, they listen in the next room just to listen to my show.
Really? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I like that.
That's great. So why don't you send me some copies of your show?
Perhaps.
I'd love to hear them. Maybe I'll even play them here.
Oh no.
Wouldn't you love that though? Just people hearing your show.
That's a new concept.
I guess that would be a new concept. Kacper, this is your big break.
Wow.
This is it. I'm offering you the big break. You can here's what I'll offer you right now. You pre-record 1 hour of programming, right?
Yes.
For this show. And I will air it uninterrupted on this show.
Wow. Well, I'll have to think about that.
Well, what do you mean you're going to think about it? You got to just say yes. This is a golden opportunity.
Yes, that's true.
You're going to move off the carrier current, Kacper. Come on. This is where people can actually hear this show over their actual radio.
Wow.
Not. Come on. I know you're going to do it, though. You know why?
Why?
Because you've got the eye of the tiger. You've got the drive to succeed. It comes off of you like an aura. You know you're going to do it, right?
Maybe. Probably.
Maybe. That's a yes. I'll take that as a yes right now. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Is there any chance I can have a copy of the show that you're going to record expressly for this program by 10 o'clock tonight?
Oh, no. That's kind of hard.
So there's no chance of you going to the college, recording the show, and getting it to me in the next hour and 20 minutes?
No, that's kind of impossible.
You don't think that can happen?
No.
How about 10:05? We'll add an extra 5 minutes.
Oh, no, that's impossible also.
When do you think you can get me a copy of your show?
I don't know. Probably I'd have to mail, like, a tape.
Okay, we'll definitely do that. I seriously would love to hear your show.
Well, it was nice talking to you.
Well, it was great talking to you, too. I'm looking forward to that show.
Thank you.
I've got your email address. I'm going to keep harassing you until I get it.
Uh-oh.
I'm counting on you, Kacper. 1 hour of programming is
Wow.
all yours, waiting for you on this show. I'm subletting it to you for $75. Would you pay me $75 for that opportunity?
No.
You would, right? You know you would, though.
No.
Come on. 60. How about $60?
No.
$53. You're thinking about it. But you know what? It's free of charge. You get me that hour, and we're going to put it on.
We'll see.
Okay?
Okay, so
I think you could be like the new Jim Henson. Maybe I discovered the new Jim Henson. Or the new Jim Jensen. What if I discovered the new Jim Jensen? Is that his name, Jim Jensen?
I don't know. Isn't he dead?
What if you are the new Jim? What if I thought I discovered the new Jim Henson, and you turned out to be the new Jim Jensen, the anchor man? And then I started touting you as the new Jim Jensen, but you kind of turned out to be more like a Bill Butel type, right?
Yes.
And then you started to show flashes of of like a Roger Grimsby-esque personality, right? With little specks of Sam Champion sprinkled in, tastefully. What do you think? I've completely confused you. This is what's weirder, me talking about you as a Jim Jensen, Bill Butel thing, or your story about the dinosaur getting stuck in the microwave and entering a different dimension? What's weirder?
Well, yours, because you needed to know, like, inside information.
Mine is weird. So wait, mine is weirder than your story about meeting the telescope people. All right, I'll take it from the source. I'm waiting for this tape. Dave, hey, Dave, did the tape show up yet?
No, sorry, Kevin.
Casper, you didn't get the tape to us yet.
Uh-oh.
Come on, guy. Get with the program. All right, Casper.
Okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
calling.
you. Have a
All
great
right.
show.
Oh, thanks.
Bye.
All right, bye. Exciting stuff. An up-and-coming broadcaster. I like to shepherd them along. He's going to be my Eliza Doolittle. Oh, in about 15 or so minutes, we have my author Michael Azerrad coming up to talk about the indie rock explosion of 81 to 91 in America. In the meantime, we will hear music from that era. Here is something from Beat Happening on WFMU.
She said that to your step.
All right. You're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope. Worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. It is 9 p.m. We are just 1 minute away from my special guest, Michael Azerrad, author of the book Our Band Could Be Your Life. Scenes from the American Indie Underground, 1981 to 91. And we just heard a few examples of music from the American Indie Underground. Mudhoney from their third single, and the first single where the A-side didn't have a bad word. This Gift, which also appeared on their self-titled debut LP. Sonic Youth before that from the Evil album. Expressway to Your Skull. The Replacements from their 1984 LP, Let It Be. We heard Unsatisfied on the Twin Tone label. And starting us off, Beat Happening from, I believe, their first 7-inch. Our Secret, now neatly compiled on a case CD, which throws everything together in a fantastic package. Okay, we're going to switch over now and bring my guest to the airways. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, this is Michael Azerrad on the phone. Thank you very much for coming on, first of all.
Oh, my pleasure.
So, your book is Our Band Could Be Your Life. It's the scenes from the American Indie Underground, 1981 to 91. And I guess you can, get it in stores if you want to do. But, and I think it's worth it. It was a fantastic book, by the way.
Thanks a lot.
I really enjoyed it. I got it, and then I read it cover to cover, and I didn't even have the time to read it cover to cover, but I just sat there, just page after page. I couldn't put it down.
That's fantastic. I tried to make it a page turner, and that's what took 3 years.
So I guess that is as good a place to start as any. Is what made you decide to write a book about such a a fringe movement?
Well, I guess, I lived through that time. I listened to that music, and I liked it a lot. And I guess one day I was watching one of those 10-part, rockumentaries on the history of rock and roll, and I was waiting for punk to come around because that's kind of my most exciting time.
Mm-hmm.
And it got up to punk rock, and it got up to Talking Heads, and then it skipped straight from Talking Heads to Nirvana.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, did I just black out for 10 minutes and miss the 80s?
Huh.
What happened? And, there's no Husker Du or Replacements or, anything like that. These are great bands that had a huge influence on the 90s. So, and then I just started to notice that they were, these bands have been just like photoshopped out of all the rock histories.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought someone should do something about that. And then I said, do it yourself. So then that's when I started writing a book proposal.
Mm-hmm. Now, initially, what the book actually takes on how many bands? A dozen?
Baker's dozen, 13.
Okay, 13. So you have the stories of 13 bands who cover that 10-year spectrum. Some like Black Flag were obviously around before 1981.
Right.
But I mean, so you cover, and bands have continued since then. But what made you block that 10-year stretch off? What made you make it like a clean parameter?
Well, I figured 91 is when Nevermind comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And that really seemed to be the end of an era. Things, really changed in the indie world after that. All of a sudden people thought, hey, we can get major label record deals, where before that wasn't so much the case. There were a few bands that moved on, but not as many as after Nevermind. Mm-hmm. And then I just figured, well, 10's a nice round number. Let's backtrack 10 years to 81. Turns out, well, that's when that great Mission of Burma EP came out that you played a song off of earlier. Henry Rollins joins Black Flag, Sonic Youth starts, Husker Du puts out their first record, and Ronald Reagan takes office in 81. And all this stuff, it seemed like 81, all this stuff started. Mm-hmm. It was really funny, and it just worked out. And it's what we call felicitous.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of the order of the bands, it vaguely, in the book, you start with Black Flag, and then you go, I guess it moves forward in the way that, the Beat Happening is the final band covered in the book, and they would have been the last, more or less, of the bands. I mean, obviously it's not a literal timeline, but they would have been the tail end of that up to 91 movement. And there almost is a nice arc to the way the bands, their need to exist and their motivations, and it seems to change over the arc of the book to a degree, and the way bands conduct themselves. Like the way like the Minutemen are just, or Mission of Burma and the Minutemen are kind of the bands that were doing it, and they seemed like they would do it literally for themselves.
Yeah, because there was no other reason to do it. I mean, there was hardly any places to play. There were no magazines to appear in. Hardly any radio stations to get played on. There was no other reason than to please yourself and a few hardcore insiders who knew about the music. Mm-hmm. So that was the whole idea. But early on, it really was kind of like a relatively, it was Spartan, I think, all the way through, but it was really Spartan in the beginning. Like, Black Flag touring around the country, and for clothes, they would just, Greg Ginn, the guitarist's father, would get a big bushel of used clothes from the Salvation Army, and the band would just pull clothes out of this bag for those their tour clothes. And if they blew out a tire, they go behind a gas station and get a used one and put that on. Mm-hmm. It was really bare bones. And then later on, the scene kind of gets a little bigger, and bands get to have vans, and maybe they can stay in a motel every now and then. It kind of gets to be a little bit bigger business. And relatively speaking, of course.
Yeah. And the network by that point actually there was an existing network by that point, whereas Black Flag, when they're going on tour, they're literally just going through their mail order list to see who buys records, and then calling those people and trying to get shows in those towns. And
right.
So it really starts off. It's amazing how sparse and organic it was. when they were doing it. I mean, it really was completely by the seat of their pants.
Oh, real do-it-yourself. I mean, Black Flag, this legendary punk band, was, a lot of times they played like Knights of Columbus halls and pizza parlors and people's, rec rooms and stuff. It was, really pretty low down there.
Yeah, and they, and which of the bands going into it did you have the most affinity for? Like, who was, like, was there one band of them that made you realize that this was a story that needed to be told, that was real, personal to you?
Wow. I mean, I really, it's such a cop-out, but, I mean, all those bands mean something to me in some way. I mean, I had the most kind of personal connection to the Replacements, although Sonic Youth really, turned my mind around several revolutions. I don't know, maybe Mission of Burma or the Minutemen probably, because you listen to their music and you feel like they're your buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And they did really develop this very, they, as Mike Watt says, we jam econo. They had this really pragmatic philosophy that I thought was really, really beautiful and needed to be documented.
Mm-hmm.
And they really, the Minutemen, just illuminate the rest of the book. Almost every other band either pertains to them or even mentions them explicitly.
Yeah, it seems like really Mission of Burma and the Minutemen cast their shadow over all the other bands in one way or another.
Mission of Burma almost more musically.
Yeah.
And that big, distorted guitar sound, the big sing-along choruses with the quiet verses. I mean, I think we all know where that eventually led up to.
Yeah, and I guess for those who don't know the Minutemen's philosophy on touring, I guess the jamming econo thing, could you expound on that?
Oh, well, I mean, the Minutemen, as Mike Watt said, they didn't like to play the princelings, so they would do all the work themselves. They didn't want to appear to be rock stars. So they never had roadies. They set up their own equipment, and sometimes the bouncers at the club would push them off the stage because they thought that they were just some schlubs who were trying to get off the stage, and in fact they were the band. They learned how to fix their own van. They advanced their own shows. They never stayed at even the cheapest motel. They just did everything really on a shoestring because they knew that they couldn't afford to be extravagant. And if they wanted to play music as constantly as they did want to, then they would have to really be really frugal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's jamming econo. It's making sure that your tent isn't too big for your show.
Mm-hmm. I guess Mike Watts always says, if you're not playing, you're paying.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why you want to have no off nights when you're on the road.
Yeah, he's notorious for 80 dates in a row without a rest. And, anyone who's gone on a tour knows that is completely brutal.
I mean, those were some of the most insane details in the book. Were just like when Black Flag would just do, I mean, I can't even, what was it like? I mean, if you figure they were on tour for a few months, and you look at it, they had 5 days off.
Yeah.
These insane stretches.
Yeah.
Where they would just be, I mean, it's inhuman almost. And I guess, well, they actually hold a perverse fascination. It's just, it's really, that might be the most interesting story. One of the most interesting stories in rock is just them on the road, that dynamic of just them in their van with the two-tiered benches, and it's almost like the slave ship with the people rowing out the side, because they would have they would be Black Flag and two opening bands, so it would be, Saccharine Trust or, Painted Willie jammed inside the van with them, and then Rollins would be asleep in the equipment truck.
Yeah.
In the pitch blackness.
Yes, just cursing himself and all of humanity.
Yeah, it's always his book, the Get in the Van.
Yeah.
Is I would put that your book is like a nice. It sums up the whole scene, but if you want to get into specific bands, I Get in the Van is a must read.
Absolutely, if only as a treatise on abnormal psychology.
Because it starts off with, I guess Henry Rollins didn't keep a tour diary for the for the first year, so it's him looking back now as in his late 30s, writing down like, oh well, it was great. I was just a young kid, and these heroes came into the town, and they gave me a chance, and he's got perspective on it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the real diary starts up that he was writing day to day, it's like I'm in the maelstrom of agony, and it's me against them, and
right. And someone put a cigar out on my chest.
yeah, everything is just a matter of how much pain he can bring upon himself.
Yeah.
To the world. Now, when you started floating around that you were looking to do this book, what kind of reactions did you get from the people in the bands? Like, did you get the full spectrum of reactions, or was everybody into it, or?
Virtually everybody was into it, and I guess I was smart, not on purpose, because I asked to speak to Mike Watt first.
Okay.
And somehow he knew who I was, and well, actually, I know how he knew who I was because he knew Chris Novoselic from Nirvana, who I'd written a book about a few years before, and so anyway, so Mike Watt knew who I was and thought it was a great idea. And once Mike Watt was on board, then all the people that you would think would be really tough to get on board came on board, like Steve Albini.
Mm-hmm.
And when Steve Albini came on, then Corey Rusk from Touch and Go Records agreed to talk to me, and he's done, I think he said this is the second piece of press he's ever done in his life.
Wow.
And who else? Well, I knew Ian MacKaye from Fugazi. That wasn't too much of a stretch, but there were just a lot of people all of a sudden, once they heard Mike Watt was involved, they said, well, this guy at least knows what he's talking about, and this is going to be at least coming from the right place. So, yeah, it was remarkably easy. I think most people have gotten enough time between that time and now to have some perspective about it and talk pretty candidly about it, because, I think once you get to maybe your late 30s or, to mid-40s, which these people are, you can say, well, I was an idiot when I was in my early 20s, and, here's what went down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, I encountered incredibly little resistance. I didn't have to cajole anyone.
Well, that's. I guess it's surprising, but like you said, people have grown up since those times. They're not the same people they were when they were, maybe their intensity has been ratcheted down a notch or two.
And not to toot my own horn, but some people just knew my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my writing from various magazines, and they thought it was all right. So they thought this might be a good idea to get involved in. So it was partly that too. But people really were very candid, like Bob Mould and Albini and people like that. Mm-hmm. And Jay Mascis was really candid about his shortcomings as a 21-year-old, and it was awfully cool.
Now, were you surprised by anybody? Obviously people might have been a little more talkative than you thought they might have been. Did anybody surprise you through your interview process?
Well, you know how Steve Albini is supposed to be this really acerbic, mean guy.
Yeah, provocateur.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, when I interviewed him, occasionally his girlfriend would walk through the room, and he'd say things like, "Oh, hey, sugar honey baby, how are you doing?" And I was just aghast. I thought, this guy's blowing his image here.
Yeah.
And I also was kind of kicking myself because I figured I must have interviewed him like 10 years too late. I should have interviewed him while he was still full of vinegar.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's people moving on, and you are a human being after all.
Yes, even Steve Albini, love conquers all, and he was actually a great guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. He's a very principled and articulate fellow, and I think he gets a bum rap, at least.
Now, how about preconceptions? Other preconceptions, like what I was interested in, like how are the Butthole Surfers in terms of, because they actually, if you look down the list of bands, I would say they, me personally, I would say they have been maybe the most devalued of the 13 bands you have talked about time has devalued them through their own mistakes of putting out bad records and kind of suing Touch and Go and stuff. So they I kind of look at them as being maybe time has not been as kind to them, but I'm wondering what their take on. I mean, did you stop the interview process at 91 like those, or did you talk about other things?
Well, kind of naturally, bled into other post-91 things, but I just tried to keep it, within that time frame. Otherwise, the book is, many hundreds of pages,
Sure.
and it just would have been many hundreds of pages more. I had to be really tough-minded about, what I was going to put in and what I was not. And that was one tough decision I made, was either I would stop either when a band went to a major label and just talk a little bit about that period, or when they or post 91, whichever came first.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, the Butthole Surfers, I guess they have been devalued, by the passage of time. But in their day, I mean, they were incredible, and they blew minds.
Mm-hmm.
But they were also, I think, of all the bands in the book, I would say they were probably the most careerist, even though they were the biggest bunch of freaks.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes them an interesting story. And bearing that careerism in mind, that explains why they were also one of the most cooperative bands in the book.
Mm-hmm. Cooperative in
terms of just, looking up information and racking their brains and, answering my real pestering emails. And, they were more than happy to help out. They were so excited about it.
Wow.
And, it was actually a real pleasure working with them. They would, tell me, people to call and just, dredge up facts and point me to other people who could give me information. It was really great.
I should say we are joined by Michael Azerrad, who's the author of Our Band Could Be Your Life, Scenes from the American Indie Underground, 81 to 91. And now you mentioned careerism, which it seems to be, when you read the book and it follows its arc, that's kind of creeps into it at a certain point. Like people start the concept of actually making money doing this.
Yeah.
It's not there initially, because I guess it would have been the furthest thing from anyone's mind.
Yeah.
But then, where would you say the point would be where that became a viable option for some of these bands to actually, we can make a go at this?
I would say when Husker Du went to Warner Brothers in, what was it, 85 or 6, something like that. Probably 86. That before that was just unimaginable from that scene. Maybe there were some other bands who did go to majors, but Husker Du was the first prominent band, and I just remember at the time thinking, that's incredible. No, and some people were really disappointed. I was just befuddled. I just couldn't believe that a band would do that. A band from that scene could actually go to a major. It just seemed like separate worlds. And so, I mean, I think after that, then the Replacements went, like a few months later, and all of a sudden it seemed like the Indies were, a farm team for the majors, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And college radio also was getting treated like that. All of a sudden, the major labels were realizing this is where you could break a band. And consequently, college radio started to get a little corrupted. And things started to change a little bit. The major labels the indie labels started selling more and more records. I think at one point, Greg Ginn and Chuck Dukowski, the co-owners of SST, were supposed to be millionaires. So, all of a sudden there was, a lot of money coming in. And that, money changes everything, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, I think the real coup de grace, obviously, was Nevermind. That's when the cash registers really started going ding, ding, ding.
So it would have been like I guess Candy Apple Gray would have been the first salvo and the thing that culminated in Nevermind. And I remember just watching Husker Du on the Joan Rivers show, which was one of the most surreal things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the Replacements were on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, that was but I mean, the Joan Rivers show, that was like, at least Saturday Night Live would have Captain Beefheart on occasionally, and they'd try something once in a while, but you don't picture, Greg Norton and Joan Rivers ever sharing the same stage.
I'm sure Joan's ears are still ringing.
And now, I guess so you saw the motivation start to change in bands, and we talked about how Mission of Burma and the Minutemen cast a shadow over the bands that were yet to come, but a band that isn't in the book but seems to cast this shadow throughout everything is REM.
Yeah,
like,
they're kind of sprinkled throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of mentioned in a lot of the chapters.
Because that would have been a band, I guess, who had a certain, they had the indie, for lack of a better term, they didn't look like rock stars, and they were making a truckload of money and, relatively doing things by their own, rules.
True. Although, once again, like I mentioned, I had to make some tough choices about what was in the book and what was not, and I just decided, that because REM was on a label that was distributed by a major label throughout their career, except for their first single, that they were not in the book.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they belong in the book either. But I just, it is because now when bands like, it's 84 and Husker Du are putting out, Zen Arcade, but meanwhile you have REM actually starting to sell legitimate, move real units.
Yeah.
At the same time, and these bands are, it's almost like they were the big brothers somehow.
Yeah, they were definitely I guess the canary in the coal mine is not quite the right analogy, but yeah, that was definitely a hint of things to come. But a lot of it was discounted because, they were on Miles Copeland's record label, and they had a lot of clout behind them. They could, they could open for the Police, who were, huge already at that point, because they were on the same label. And there was a lot of, they had a lot of legs up that the indie bands didn't have.
Yeah.
So there was, I remember there was a lot of excitement about REM getting big, but on the other hand, in the indie community, people realized the advantages that REM had that they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, REM had a lot of help much earlier than a lot of people are probably aware of.
Yeah.
It's not as grassroots as, I mean, they can talk about as many pizza parlors as they played, but they were definitely in the pipeline.
That's true, although they worked really, really hard. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
They totally earned it.
Well, when you have a team in place.
Yeah.
I mean, the Minutemen worked pretty hard too.
Yeah.
But they didn't have, I mean, they were doing it out of pocket.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make the point that REM
sure.
did not get a free ride to the top.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what bands did you entertain putting other bands in that, you mentioned REM for obvious reasons. Were there other bands that you had contemplated?
Well, I mean, some people wonder why the Pixies aren't in the book. I love the Pixies. I think they're tremendously influential, but they weren't on an American independent label, and they really concentrated their touring on the UK and Europe. So they weren't part of the community that's described in the book. So they were out. And it's really the Pixies and REM are the ones that really spring to mind. I mean, there are other bands that I thought were really good, from that period, but I wasn't necessarily picking my favorites, and I wasn't necessarily picking bands that were even musically really good. I was trying to pick bands that embodied some part of that arc that you were talking about, whether it was the explosion of a region or a sound or a philosophy or what. But so I wasn't picking necessarily musical merit, and so I really didn't have any bands that wound up on the cutting room floor because I picked each band to represent something.
Because I've heard rumblings about a Das Damen chapter.
Okay, well, you're right. I did briefly think about that, and I actually interviewed Lyle Hyson, their drummer, and that's as far as it got. I, in terms of representing something, I just thought, it was like, I'd start to weigh it. I would say, well, if Das Damen goes in, then Big Black might have to go, and I thought the choice was clear cut. So, even though Das Damen, were like the Zeligs of indie rock, they were on all these different labels and open for all kinds of different people. So I kind of,
They bankrupted every label they were ever on. Is their one talent?
Yeah,
they had other talent, but they went from SST and sent that to, into oblivion, and then Twin Tone came crashing down.
Yep.
I guess that is a talent.
And they were, I think they had a record on Sub Pop.
Yeah.
Which almost went crashing down in, 89, 90, so.
Just because they only did a single, so that just felled, that just made Sub Pop's head spin. If they would have done a full album, then Sub Pop would have gone down for the count.
Yeah, and then we would have never had the alternative rock revolution.
Yeah, well, now, I was going to, an interesting thing about the book is the organic aspect of the thing is that this is the last movement, this 81 to 91, where these bands were operating without the internet. where it was word of mouth, and it was fanzines, and it was, the distribution was very tangible. It's literally, I'm printing a fanzine and let me get it out. It's like they didn't have any of the like now. It would be interesting to think of a band like Black Flag coming up now. It would just be a completely different story. This book almost couldn't happen. These bands couldn't happen now the way they happened with the internet, I think.
Yeah, well, it's a totally different thing. Back then, you had people just, sending tapes through the mail. You just have, tape pals, people you may never have met sending tapes, and now you just go to, punk rock bulletin board on, Yahoo or whatever, and you find people who are into the same stuff you are, and then you email them MP3s. It is completely, totally different. But that's the real self-sufficient stuff. It's it's kind of what indie rock dreamed of in the '80s. Like now you can record, manufacture, and do the artwork and distribute your music all on one computer in your living room. And that's talk about seizing the means of production. That's what all these indie bands were dreaming of back then.
Was controlling the thing from the manufacturing point of view, not being beholden to anybody,
and not having to go into some fancy studio and pay a lot of money and be stressed out because the meter's running, all that kind of stuff. And needing to have an engineer to to control your sound. Now people can do it all themselves. It's kind of great, but it's kind of bad because there's so much stuff out there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it gives you much more to wade through and actually find what's good.
Yeah.
You know what I liked about your book a lot is that you let the bands tell their stories. The book is rich in quotes.
Yeah.
And you kind of let the story tell itself rather than putting your spin on every single, event that happened in a band's career.
I don't know. I just think that's really, presumptuous. And, why do that when you can just ask Bob Mould, what was it like on that first tour that you did? Sure. I mean, I think, the way they talk and the way they put it is way more interesting than anything I could say.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't do that, though. A lot of people, if they're writing, they have to get in the way of the subject matter.
I'm just
not to insult you, of course. You did write the book. You didn't just transcribe it.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not an overly stylized, authored thing where you're projecting yourself into it, on the same plane as the subject matter.
Yeah. I didn't see any reason, for that because I was not in any of the bands, and that's who I'm writing about. So I might as well let their voice, come through. And I think that's really important in a history, if you can get the flavor, the personalities involved. Actually, when I was just starting the book, I was at the FMU Record Fair, and I bumped into Legs McNeil, who wrote Please Kill Me. And he said, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I said, "Well, I'm writing this book about American indie rock in the '80s." And he stops and his eyes bug out, and he says, "You're not going to write about the music, are you?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" I thought he was about to insult, to all the American indie rock that came after his era. And no, but he said, just write about the people, and the music will come out of that. And I kind of, took that as my marching orders. I didn't write so much about the music, but I really tried to let people's voices come out. So you could almost, my fondest wish would be that you could just read the Husker Du chapter, and if you've never heard them, you could kind of guess what the music sounds like, just from hearing them talk. And so that's kind of what I was shooting for.
Well, it definitely comes out. Hey, would you be willing to take some phone calls?
Oh, sure, yeah.
The phone number is 201-200-9368. If you have a question for Michael Azerrad, now is the time to call. Or you can email a question at toms@wfmu.org. And we will let Dave, the call screener, do his thing, and then we will take some calls. Now, it's funny that sometimes with the book, it's like the bands in we're talking about, they were breaking new ground, but they still obviously had their influences that went back, whether it's Black Flag with their Black Sabbath, influence, or it's Dinosaur Jr. with their, guitar solo-y stuff, which, It's part of rock lore. It's weird how the bands, though, they fall into the same dynamic as bands that came before. Like you point out in the book that Black Flag, somehow still became a band with a charismatic singer and an enigmatic guitar, lead guitar player.
Mm.
And it's weird how, while they're breaking new ground, it's like you can't escape the stuff you grew up on when you were 14.
Yeah, you could take the Sabbath out of the boy, but the boy out of the Sabbath, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They say history, doesn't actually come in leaps and bounds. It's just very gradual.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people say it does come in leaps and bounds. But I think that Black Flag just inched it forward just a little bit, just made rock just a little cooler, coming out of that horrible 70s, early 70s kind of punk rock thing. But a lot of these people were born in the early 60s, and they grew up on that stuff, and that's kind of their mode of making music. The Minutemen grew up on, a lot of fusion and, Mahavishnu Orchestra and stuff like that, and you can hear that in their music, even though they swore that they hated this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, it does just kind of come burbling out. It's just, bred in the bone. I mean, there have been studies made of, how the music that you listen to as a child actually forges particular synapses in your brain that make you perceive music a certain way for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the Minutemen are, case in point. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, how they were doing something completely new, but you can see the threads to the stuff that they grew up on. Hey, we have a phone call here. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
This is Sue. How are you guys?
All right.
How are you, Sue?
Show sounds great. I was really looking forward to this, Tom, this interview.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, great guest. Michael, I'm sort of in the middle of reading your book.
Great.
And I was really excited that, somebody took the time to write this out, and because this time was really important to me. This is like, from the age of like 17 to about 25. I kind of am more in the school of things kind of ended in 85.
Right.
The Husker Du, Candy Apple Gray thing. But it's a really great read. I would recommend, especially people in their 20s pick this up, because I don't think there was ever a time like this before. I mean, just the excitement of the time, and it was really great, really special. I first saw the Minutemen in 1980 in Pasadena. So just reading their story, and I saw them, several times after that, and I'm reading the book, and I'm like, oh my God, I was at that Sin Club gig at Sonic Youth, and that, the Pyramid Club gig at the Buttholes, and it was like, oh man. So anyway, I think it's important, or it's kind of weird to explain to people who are younger, who think R.E.M. and the Pixies were, I guess, underground, to explain to them, well, there was this time before that when stuff was going on, and I was kind of wondering what your thoughts, Michael, were on sort of, do you think that you could explain the difference between that underground and what they call an underground now, post 91?
Wow. That's an interesting question. I think the point being that there is an underground now, and there's all kinds of undergrounds. There's hip hop underground, electronica underground, there's jazz underground, and there's an indie rock underground. And it's just by definition whatever is not on the mainstream cultural radar, and that stuff will always be. And people who say, well, there's not a cool underground going on right now. They simply are just not looking. They're just out of touch, because
Mm-hmm.
it's there, and it probably will always be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Back in the 80s, I think it was probably more of a struggle. I think there's, frankly, there is an infrastructure that's a little better now for the underground, like a place like the Tonic Club in New York. That's a place where some really out music can be made, and the artist can actually make a little money playing there. And that may not have necessarily been the case in 1984.
So there is an underground middle class now.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was just either you're struggling for every dollar or you're REM.
Right. Yeah. I I think that's pretty much true. Yeah, there is definitely some sort of structure in place where you can actually carve out some sort of vaguely close to comfortable living.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling, Sid.
Hey, thanks.
Okay,
Tom.
all right.
Bye.
Well, the phones are going crazy, so let's put some more people on the air here with Michael Azerrad, WFMU. You're on the air.
Yes, hi. This is Mark. I grew up in D.C. in the early 80s, and I was just very curious where Michael grew up and what scene he was part of, and how much, if he could just comment on sort of the regional quality of the scene that time, because in D.C. in particular, we were really focused on what was happening more in D.C. than what was happening around the rest of the country.
Although some of the people in D.C. that I talked to, like Henry Rollins and Ian Mackay, were very fixated on the California scene. I think partially out of their disgust for the New York scene, who didn't take them very seriously at all.
Yeah.
So I think the most insulting thing you can do to a New Yorker is spurn him or her for a Los Angelino.
Yeah, I remember. There definitely seemed to be a bond, I remember, between, like, the Social Distortion and the Youth Brigade scene and the Minor Threat thing and all of that kind of stuff, and there are definitely sort of alliances. But I was just curious where you grew up.
Well, I grew up in Westchester.
Oh, okay. So you were very much part of the New York scene then.
Yeah, I wouldn't presume to say I was part of the New York scene. I mean, I went to shows and things like that. And I actually played in bands, but nothing you'd ever heard of. But wow, I don't know, to say you were like a card-carrying member of a scene. I don't know where one crosses that line.
Okay.
I went to college between, just to date myself, between 79 and 83 in New York City. So that's where I waltzed into this story.
Okay, yeah, I was probably more limited. I was in high school in the early 80s, so that's probably a big factor for people as well. You just you couldn't pick up and go places, so you probably ended up staying a lot more around your regional area and going to shows there, and that sort of, In D.C., I don't know if it had sort of an insular culture at the time, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what, back then, especially in the early 80s, there was no MTV. So, you can listen to other bands' records, but there really wasn't this kind of nationwide kind of overview of what was going on with rock music. You couldn't look at people's clothes and dances and imitate them, except if you're watching American Bandstand.
Mm-hmm.
It was this very insular thing. Some bands would come through town, you could see them play, and you might, pick off a riff from them or the way they wore their hat. But it's really was insular, and a lot of bands didn't tour, so it was just very incestuous. And the DC scene is a great case in point, where like every single band in that scene did a version of Stepping Stone. It was really very inbred.
And they weren't even aware that it was a Monkees song. They thought it was a Sex Pistols song.
Right. Or 1-2XU or one of these other songs that are like classics that maybe 5 years later you figure out that Minor Threat didn't do it originally.
Right.
Well, great. Thanks for calling.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to reading the book.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks.
WFMU, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to know if I could give a quick shout-out to Michael really quick.
Okay, great.
Michael, I love the book.
Thank you.
Thought it was great, especially the chapters on Burma and Flag and the Minutemen.
Cool.
I do have a small bone to pick.
Yeah.
Why no Wire Train?
What label were they on? Let's see. Wire Train, I just thought, they didn't fit into the, they were not a representative band of whatever I was trying to illustrate with that arc we were talking about.
Well, I guess we'll just agree to disagree on that.
But you know what? Everyone has their band that they, that they really want to, slide in there. And, Wire Train was on 415, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was distributed by Columbia Records, so they're out of there.
Oh, I understand. Well, host?
Yes?
Could I please just mention my Wire Train fan page real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay,
quickly.
It's http://www.geocities.com/members/. trainheads/10women/sexaholic/the word/.html.
Oh, well, if anybody can actually humanly remember that, I guess they'll have, they can stop by your Wiretrain site.
All right, keep up the good work, Michael.
Thank you.
Great,
All right,
thanks.
great stuff. And give Wiretrain a second chance. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe for the sequel, you can...
Yeah, I could do all the bands from that era that were on the major label.
Yeah, I could... Yeah. And then... You could, WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi, how you doing? I really enjoy the show.
Great, thank you.
I enjoyed actually that URL as much as I think you can enjoy the site.
Oh, okay, right.
I grew up I was in college from 81 to 85 in New York, and I was just thinking about the regional scene, too. I mean, was seeing bands like Haircut 100 at the Ritz.
Mm-hmm. So you were into more British
Well,
groups?
there really wasn't much going on in New York, and I was glad to hear other people saying that.
There wasn't much going on in New York? When?
During that time, I didn't think so. Did you?
I don't know. You had Sonic Youth and Ratter Ratter and Live Skull and, some pretty amazing bands, Glenn Branca.
Maybe. I guess I just heard you mention L.A., and I was wondering where you thought more was happening at that time, in L.A. or in New York.
I think the point of the book, actually, is that there was stuff happening everywhere, and that it didn't necessarily happen in Los Angeles or New York, the big media capitals. You could come from a place like Austin, Texas, and be like the big boys, or stick men with ray guns, or the Butthole Surfers, making really wild, crazy music that was just as valid as anything that was made in Los Angeles or New York. So, a place like Minnesota, who would have thought that two great bands, the Replacements and Husker Du, would come out of a place like Minnesota? And the reality of it is that people in those places can make just as good art as anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well,
okay.
Do you have another question, caller?
No, thanks. I enjoyed the show and the book.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay.
It's and who was putting out, 1,000-run 7-inch, and you could have been the best band on earth at that point.
Right. I mean, the Replacements probably haven't gone, gold with all the records combined, I think. And, some people think they're one of the greatest rock bands that ever walked the earth. Mm-hmm. So, that's another point of the book. Quality is not measured in units.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also I guess the title of the book is, Our Band Could Be Your Life. It's like a 1-to-1 relationship with the bands. It's the bands are the people to a certain extent.
Vice versa.
There's no difference. We got a question here on the internet from Hugh. He wants to know if you could discuss the influence of forced exposure on the 80s landscape.
I think, a couple of things. One is that those guys' taste was just incredible. They picked out a lot of really, really great music to write about, and they wrote about it very well and really knowledgeably. And it was just, you'd read that stuff and you'd say, wow, I got to run out and check out John Fahey or any of the other things that they wrote about. But, and they also, I think one of the big influences was kind of uniting a lot of these bands that were kind of talking about the dark side of the American experience, which was kind of a radical thing to do in this, It's Morning in America, Reagan 80s. So that was bands like Big Black and the Butthole Surfers and Sonic Youth. That whole group of bands, Killdozer, was kind of lumped into one group, one term by Robert Christgau, who called them pig F-word music. And
thank God you understand the rules of radio.
Oh, yeah, I've listened to radio on occasion. So I think one of the big influences of forced exposure, which was had a really high circulation amongst the fanzine world, was that they did isolate and promote that little group of bands who actually wound up to be very popular and influential. So that's those are two things about forced exposure I think that were really important.
Mm-hmm. Let's keep the calls coming. WFMU, you're on the air with Michael Azerrad.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Good.
All right.
I'm really enjoying the show a lot. Thank you so much for having for having this guy on and talking about his book. I was
Please.
wondering if you guys could well, my sort of I went to college upstate New York in 1983, and I sort of immediately got involved with the college radio station, and there they had an independent, they had an indie file where the records would just pour in, from California and stuff, and I sort of, it was one of these situations where I kind of turned into the person I was eventually going to be as a result of hearing that music and all that at 20 years old, and I was just wondering, your guys' feeling of I mean, sort of the whole credibility issue about independent music now, or just what you think, sort of the impact of MTV and that sort of that sort of advertising or conglomerate kind of a thing had on it. I mean, I always kind of charted that stuff as sort of the death knell of the quality of the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Wow. I mean, that's a whole other 1 hour discussion at least. But I mean, there was a lot. Before MTV came along, I mentioned American Bandstand before. There's American Bandstand. There was AM radio. There were a lot of outlets for some really cheesy music to be played, and a lot of really sleazy promotional shenanigans to go on. So MTV, maybe took it to another level, but there was some cool stuff on MTV as well, and that's such a long discussion. I can't even get my head around it.
Yeah, that's a whole other book.
Yeah.
That could be your next book, or maybe not.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Great. Well, thanks for calling.
Thank you guys very much.
I got an email here from John out in Oakland. He wants to know of the many bands mentioned in the book, how many of them are still putting out challenging punk music? Which I guess, I mean, I could even answer that question, I guess. But I mean, do you want to?
Well, let's see. Since who's still in existence, Sonic Youth is making challenging music. Wow. I mean, I don't even want to. I mean, we can get into the definition of punk, but I'll say Sonic Youth's making challenging music. Fugazi still exists, and they're certainly making challenging music. They're really vital. They're so great live, and
it's actually, and they're actually one of the most interesting bands in it, because you actually get Ian MacKaye has 2 chapters in the book, really.
Yeah.
Because it's like a second act, which nobody else really gets a second act in the book the way he does.
Yeah, there are no second acts in American politics, but maybe American punk rock.
And he completely gets it on his own terms with the band, and it's actually interesting to see the way, they at that point they went and structured it the way they wanted to do it, or they wouldn't do it. It was just, we're not going to sell merchandise on the road, or we're not going to charge a premium to get into our shows, and just they by that point, I guess he had been burned with some of his, him speaking for the rest of Minor Threat and lyrically and things like that. So he was much more considerate going into the band also, and it was like it was actually like a real unit. Like the 4 of them were one, and there wasn't one spokesman for the band, and the other 3 had to go along for the ride.
Yeah, although, it's funny because they had the luxury of becoming fairly successful fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if they had to struggle, would they have said, well, maybe we should sell some T-shirts.
Yeah.
But you know what? Probably not. In fact, definitely not. Ian MacKaye is a very principled and frankly a stubborn fellow, and he'd probably be the first to admit it. And he probably wouldn't have done it. But it's just funny that they had the luxury of being popular, so they didn't have to do that stuff.
They were actually going out fighting his legacy as a band. They actually had to establish themselves as a new entity.
And they completely did. It's so different. It's actually worth pointing out that almost every person in every band in the book is still making music. I mean, almost virtually every person. Bob Mould is making incredibly intense, meaningful music. Grant Hart just put out a really good record. Greg Norton's an award-winning chef in rural Minnesota, and cooking is like music. But I mean, I can go down the line. Mission to Burma is reuniting next month. Everyone's still making music. These people are lifers. And, that kind of impetus that gets you going in those adverse circumstances in the 80s is not something that just kind of goes away. If you got it, you got it for life. And that's why these people are still making music.
Because they started off in adverse conditions, and I guess if you're going to withstand some of the initial frustrations that they made it through, everything else is going to pale in comparison.
Absolutely.
We still have plenty of phone calls coming in here. The other thing about Fugazi that's interesting is that they, I can't even remember. The phones are going too crazy. I'm not going to waste your time with my opinions here. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Great.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Michael, the book is really great, and I really initially underestimated your concept of just dealing with the people. But I think that Legs McNeil story was kind of instructive, and eventually that really came out. And it's interesting to me that none of these bands are merely DIY people or had some kind of great commercial concept or some kind of ideals. They all, the music kind of equaled what they put into it otherwise. And it's just nice that especially Mission to Burma, who I think really didn't get any of the recognition that almost any of the other bands in the book are included, which really was what sold it to me. But I wanted to ask you, having been around there at the time, I got the impression that even though I was a person that never thought anything would ever sell or anybody would ever get this music, reading your book, I get the impression that there was maybe 10,000 people buying these records around 1984 or something.
Yeah, it was incredibly obscure. That's kind of the point of the book, is that one of the points of the book is that these, no one was doing it for glory. They were surely doing it because they love to play music, and they were on an independent label because no one else would put it out. But it was very small, and it's kind of like people who say they saw Black Flag at the Peppermint Lounge. I mean, if everyone who said they saw him was really there, then the Peppermint Lounge would be overflowing with human bodies. But it was a very small scale thing, and you can't ever lose sight of that. There's a lot of instances in the book of Mission to Burma playing for 10 people, and those people holding their ears and standing against the back wall, because they couldn't. It was so loud. But it's not like today. It's not like Blink 182 who sells out, Roseland or something like that.
Yeah. What my Fugazi point is that it's ironic that as principled as they were in terms of not making the compromises that, say, Paul Westerberg has made through his career, or even Bob Mould or Butthole Surfers, is that when it's all said and done, they've actually moved 2 million records, which is like, plenty of the bands that made the compromises never came anywhere near that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the miracle of Fugazi. They did it their way, and maybe there's a lesson in that. If you're completely true to yourself, it's not maybe that you will sell 2 million records, but that you will be successful on some level. And that's a really, really important thing. If once you start compromising, you're cutting down on that intimate connection between yourself and the audience.
WFMU, you're on the air with Michael Azerrad.
Oh, hi. I'm on now?
Yes.
Oh, I hear. Okay, I wanted to mention a band, the Suicide Commandos, that I think were a real influence on the Minneapolis scene.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I hear my voice. I'm going to close the door here. Well, I remember I have lots and lots of these singles, and I really don't think it's the same thing today, like the guy was talking about Blink 182 and all that and everything. I mean, I think that scene with the singles and everything is dead, I just don't, I remember, like, ordering Black Flag's Nervous Breakdown or something, and, like, they would just always be sending me literature, to things about their tours and everything, and they would have something interesting about, say, Bad Brains or somebody, and I would check it out.
Well, singles back then were the coin of the realm because you only had to record 2 songs.
Yeah, it's a little hard to hear you.
And it was really cheap. Singles were cheap to make and cheap to manufacture. And now you have CDs, and it's now very cheap to record an entire album and distribute an entire CD. So you don't get singles so much anymore.
Yeah, it was such a DIY thing. I mean, it was incredible on FMU. I remember. Have to give Irwin a lot of credit for he really being the first person I remember playing this stuff, and then later I've been listening for since it was still the late 70s really, and it wasn't the same later on. Like younger people came on the staff and everything, and it became there was a hardcore show with this guy Paul Kavanaugh and Pat Duncan, the guys that were doing it, and.
Caller?
That's not even so alive. Well, yeah, there are a few people doing that now, something like that.
So wait, Irwin used to play Black Flag?
Oh no, yes, he did. Yeah. Definitely, he would play anything. He loved punk. He played it all the time. Yeah, okay. I think he could have. I'm very sure that he might have played a single. Yeah, he could. It's quite likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, he was playing things like that.
Okay, well, I appreciate you calling.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Irwin's into that naive music.
Naive like Black Flag? I got to get this for the record if Irwin played Black Flag. I need answers on that.
Maybe he can call in.
Yeah, Irwin, if you're listening, please call in. Are you desperate to get off the phone? Or we still have phone calls?
I got some time, yeah.
Okay, so let's take a few more calls for Michael Azerrad. One thing I wanted to ask was, since you talked to the people and they had a good 10 years perspective on the movement,
sometimes 20.
20, yeah. What were some of the reactions of people looking back that surprised you? I mean, was anybody embittered by it? I mean, were some people, like when you wrap it up in the postscript, Jay Mascis looks back and says, "I liked when '91 came around and I could hear my friends' bands on the radio," but other people were just just said, "Well, that it turned out I didn't realize it then, but that was the death knell for." Well,
I actually in the epilogue, there are a few quotes from Peter Prescott, actually the drummer from Mission of Burma, who was kind of disappointed in what happened because a lot of the the stuff that really broke through sounded like all the stuff that they were rebelling against in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
It was all that, the Kiss, arena rock, Aerosmith sound kind of, updated and given a little shot of punk rock. But, he thought a lot of the Seattle grunge sound was really, retrograde, really retrogressive, just completely turning back the clock on what they were trying to undo.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about Mudhoney is it's that weird dynamic where you could start to see. Like when Green River, you wrote it in the book, is when Green River was on tour, Mark Arm is trying to play the Scientists.
Yeah.
And the other guys are playing Permanent Vacation by Aerosmith.
Their worst album.
Yeah, so I mean it is like this weird thing where it was looping back around and just, where people were ready to be completely, they were ready to be Pearl Jam, half of Green River. They were up for the challenge of that, and that was something they were looking forward to.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other people would look at that, like Peter Prescott would consider that, it's like the enemy, sneaking in through the gates and actually winning. And Peter Prescott, by the way, him and Mike Watt would be the definition of lifers for the movement.
Absolutely. Peter Prescott's band, Peer Group, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
They are cool. If you ever get a chance to see them, check them out.
The Peer Group?
Peer Group, yeah.
Because I have to say the Volcano Suns may be one of my 3 favorite bands ever.
Another awesome band.
Oh.
So he's been in 3 awesome bands.
Yes.
Yeah. He's truly. But a lot of people like Watt and people like that. I think I'm speaking for them, but I bet a lot of those people are really disappointed in how doctrinaire punk has become.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have green hair and you got to sing in a snotty voice about how boring it is to be in suburbia over some recycled Clash chord changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's not what it was supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's just become this completely codified, formulaic thing, and that's exactly not punk.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have another call here. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
It's Irwin.
Hey, Irwin. How you doing? See,
Hey, Michael.
I knew.
Hi, Irwin.
So, what you want me to what? Confess that I played punk?
Were you one of the pioneers breaking Black Flag on WFMU?
Well, if I was, is it going to enhance or damage my reputation?
Don't tell him. Just answer the question.
Just yes. This is not no context. Yes or no?
It's a complicated answer.
Oh, yes or no?
Yes and no.
Oh.
Well, no. So you kind of didn't play them?
What I had to say was no and yes.
Uh-huh. Well, did you play Black Flag?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I didn't play they weren't in heavy rotation on my program.
Did you play it ironically?
No, I didn't care that much for Black Flag. I mean, to this day, I don't think Henry Rollins is much of a musician. I think he's an interesting philosopher, an interesting entertainer, and he's certainly opinionated, and I can appreciate him as a champion of all kinds of music, but never cared much for him as a musician.
He kind of has become the William Shatner of our generation.
I wouldn't put it that way, but you can, Tom, because it's your show.
But he's one. He would have been the host of that American Iron Chef if Shatner didn't get the job. They would have given that to Rollins.
Let me speak pioneers. The first guy that I recall, okay, I've been at FMU since '75, so it's about the beginning of punk. The first guy that really played it a lot was a guy named Barry Frankel. He was music director, I'd say around '76. Around the time the Sire stuff started coming out, a little before then. He was playing nothing but punk, and he was the music director. After that, I picked up on kind of the British stuff around '77, '78. A few other staff members did too.
Okay.
So I did play it.
Okay, but it was not your bread and butter.
I was playing it back to back with, Julie London and Martin Denny and everything else I liked back then.
Now, Michael,
I don't know.
I want to suggest your next book, Irwin. 500 pages about Irwin Chused.
You think so?
Maybe
there's a market for it?
Maybe 2 volumes.
I wouldn't have made this call, Tom, if you hadn't dared me to.
You just emailed me saying, please suggest to Michael to write a book about me.
That wasn't me.
I know, I'm just kidding. Well, thanks for calling, Irwin.
Just want to set the record straight.
Okay.
Barry Frankel, he was the guy who played punk first on FMU. Played a lot.
It has been duly recorded.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, do you think a lot of the people in the bands would have done things differently when they were at that crossroads where money started to enter the picture?
Well, I mean, some bands, like, Be Happening or Fugazi or Big Black, definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, the whole idea was to just do it their way and come what may.
Yeah.
Come success or failure. I think, wow. No, I mean, that's a tough question to ask. I mean, you'd have to really ask them.
Yeah. I mean, just from obviously it's you answering, it's not you speaking for them. But, I mean, I guess you can't answer it then.
Yeah, that's a really tough question to answer. I mean, you just don't know. There's so many variables. And, they were young and, inexperienced, and it's, hindsight is 20/20.
Now, one question I've also had, maybe you can give some insight into this. I've talked with my friends about this repeatedly, is how is it possible that the Minutemen were on the road? They were actually making money when they toured.
Barely.
But I mean, they were not losing their shirts the way Black Flag was.
No, but their shirts were, grungy T-shirts, so they didn't have much to lose.
How is it possible that Black Flag, Black Flag were a draw, in a lot of places? How is it possible that they were always in the hole with money? Like, I mean, was it the Capricorn? The Unicorn lawsuit? Were they just touring to pay off those legal bills?
They were. Yeah, they got hit hard. I mean, they owed, I don't know if it was hundreds of thousands, but even tens of thousands of dollars would have been pretty tough for them to pay back. And bear in mind, I mean, pre 85, 86 or so. They were, like, as we were saying before, they were selling 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 records maybe at most. it's not a lot of money.
It just seems like when you read the stuff that there was like $1, like when Henry Rollins is going off and eating a cookie behind a dumpster so that the rest of the band doesn't catch him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you'd think that there would have been a little more money for everybody to at least gotten a cookie. Like that. I mean, that's what I mean. It seems like they had zero, but then they're going on tour. They're playing 2 shows a night in a lot of cities. And
well, I mean, people were paying like $2 to get in. It was, it's really bare bones, really,
It just always seemed perplexing to me that they just couldn't have more money for for Henry Rollins and then the band to show up at the the Sizzler 99-cent salad bar and then filling up a whole cafeteria tray with salad on a technicality.
Yeah.
And then eating 4 pounds of salad.
Yeah.
And then it seems I was always just surprised. I guess you're right though. If they were only charging $2 a head,
yeah, I mean, and also, like I say, they were selling really piddling amounts of records.
Mm-hmm.
So it simply was not a large-scale operation.
Yeah.
Later on, when Dinosaur and Sonic Youth started coming in, Husker Du started selling a bunch of records.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had started to get some money coming in. But in the early days that you're talking about, it was really tiny.
Sure. I guess as the 80s wound down, I guess there was, like you said, SST had some real capital.
Yeah.
Coming in and out, and it's actually a shame they went. I guess they became like a shell of what they could have been.
I think that they just got way ahead of themselves. I think I seem to remember one year they put out 70 records, which is more than Columbia Records puts out in a year.
So they put one too many Tom Tricoli's Dog albums.
Yeah, between that and Painted Willie, I think those are the 2 most maligned bands on SST.
And we have another call here. This actually will be the final call of the show. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hi. I actually wanted to ask you about a couple of those Boston bands. I moved out of Boston 12 years ago, and I actually knew Peter, and you're right about him being a lifer. That him and Mike Watt, I met him also, and I agree with you there. But I wanted to ask you about Mission of Burma. Did you say something about a reunion? That they're getting back together?
Yeah, they're playing one show at Irving Plaza on January 12th, and then they're playing the Avalon in Boston on the 18th of January.
Wow.
And it's pretty amazing.
I haven't read your book yet, but did you talk to Clint?
I talked to all of them.
Because I never thought Clint would play again.
Yeah, he actually played with Peter's band Peer Group. And I know, and but he's still an amazing bass player. He's really good.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
And they're reuniting, and they said actually part of the reason they were reuniting was because they were in the book.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's great. They're a great band. They were actually a little before my time. I never saw them, but I was a big Volcano Suns fan, and those, the Minneapolis bands you mentioned, and I'm glad you mentioned Killdozer. Are Killdozer in your book or no?
They're mentioned. Michael Azerrad, the singer's quoted.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 13 bands that are emphasized, and the Killdozer, unfortunately, wasn't one of them. But, really cool band.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Great. Well, thanks for calling.
Okay.
And I guess I will. Let's see. Is that it for the calls? Yeah. Let's we'll close things out. We'll let you get to bed or whatever you're going to do now. Well, I appreciate you for you spending some time with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Really, you have great listeners. They're very knowledgeable and articulate folks.
Oh, well, that's so nice of you to say. And the book is Our Band Could Be Your Life: Scenes from the American Indie Underground, 1981 to 1991. No, I want you to just don't be shocked when you see Amazon.com. Watch it move up 1 point in the in whatever their little their chart is because of the power of this show. Get ready.
The sales spike would be too much for my little heart.
You might be able to buy a car tonight based on this.
Well, if I could even buy a Matchbox at this point, I'd be very happy.
That's probably more in line with this show. Now,
but if I got named to the board of directors for this show, perhaps I'd be pulling down the Major Benjamins.
We might. I'm going to put your name in the hat.
Please.
How's that?
Yeah.
Well, great. Thanks again for coming on the show and being such a great guest. And you have a good night. I guess people can. Somebody actually. One final thing. Somebody wants to know what's your next book.
Oh, yeah. I wish I knew. I don't know. If you have any ideas, you can write to me, care of Little Brown Books,
Okay, so
I feel like that was the last book that really was screaming out to be done. And now I got to think of another one. It's hard.
Well, you've got the Erwin Chusett book right there. You can put me on as a researcher.
Oh, please. Actually, I went to school, grade school with his cousin.
With Erwin's cousin.
Yeah.
See? The book is writing itself.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Michael, for coming on. It was a great interview and a great time.
Thank you, Tom. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and we will talk to you soon.
Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. And I am going to play some more music. In the spirit of the book. And in the spirit of the times, here is Black Flag on WFMU. All right, you're listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. This is the best show in WFMU. And we just heard from Big Black with Jordan, Minnesota. Before that, the Minutemen with their smash hit, This Ain't No Picnic. Fugazi from their Steady Diet of Nothing album, giving us Latin roots. Minor Threat with Seeing Red. Husker Du from the Everything Falls Apart and More collection, Blah Blah Blah. And starting us off, Black Flag with Black Coffee from the Slip It In album. There are 29 minutes left in the program, and I am turning the program back over to you, the listeners. It is Open Phone Tuesday once again. 201-200-9368 is the number. Now is the time to call. To get in on the action. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Tom? I recently saw the movie Harry Potter.
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty Hasu.
It was pretty what?
Hasu.
Oh, that's right. You're one of those guys. It was pretty Hasu. That means cool, right?
Yeah, it was.
Hey, is this show Hasu?
Yeah, this show is the most Hasu show on WFMU.
The most Hasu show on WFMU, not just the best show.
Yeah, it's the most Hasu.
Now, where did that come from, Hasu?
Well, me and my friends, we play this game called Diablo 2, and it's kind of like Korean slang. Like,
So-
I'm not Korean, but that's what some of the Koreans on Diablo 2 call cool, Hasu.
Hey, now you have a friend on the other line, don't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you say something, friend?
Yeah, my name's Matt.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Good.
How's that GameCube working?
Good.
Just good? So
Yeah,
it's
I'm
kind of not
surprised
working.
I'm
It's not working all the time. Just kind of.
No, there's not really been too many it gets laggy sometimes. Yeah, I listen to... I still fly the planes
Uh-huh.
from Hackensack.
I have no idea. Let's get to the bottom of this right now. You fly planes. What is the game you play?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. And what do you do in this game? Was it Rogue Squadron?
Yeah, I fly planes.
You kill other planes, is what you do.
Yeah,
Planes.
You fly planes and kill
You're
other
flying planes. You're not flying like an actual...
Oh, I like to call them planes.
Uh-huh. So you're old-fashioned.
Yeah. And you, like, kill other planes and shoot them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they blow up sometimes.
Hey, do you guys... How's school?
It's a pretty good. Yeah.
What grade are you in?
9th grade.
Ninth.
Freshman, high school.
I'm 9.
Do you guys get beat up by the seniors?
No, I beat them up. They're
Yeah,
weaklings.
I guarantee you don't. You get thrashed by the seniors, don't you?
Yeah.
Do they beat you up? And do you cry?
Yeah, there's just this one.
Okay, we can't. I actually don't want to say his name over the air, so I. Okay, we can't. I actually don't want to say his name over the air, so I cut you off. No names, guys. I shouldn't have asked. Just first names. Rule of the show. (201-200-9368) is the number. And this is the most Hasu show on WFMU. Is this guy for me? No, he's not. Okay. What would happen if I put him in Small Change on the air?
Radio Dynamite.
Ask Small Change if I could put this conversation on the air. You are listening to the Most Hasu Show on WFMU. I'm your host, Tom. The email address, TOMS, Tom S, at WFMU.org. That is the place to email. You write the email, I will read it. I'm looking at the screen right now. It's instantaneous. WFMU, you're on the air.
How's it going, Tom?
Oh, it's going all right.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up two things.
Okay.
Yeah, going back to that 80s thing with the indie and the DIY thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, if you look at it like a timeline, there was, in the 70s, we had the whole disco thing, the whole commercial aspect.
Okay.
And the indie thing was, in rebellion to that.
Okay.
And then when we had Nevermind, after that, they, blew open the door. And, history repeats itself. Now we have the whole boy band thing. You know what I mean?
So you say there's a revolution in the air.
Yeah,
You say
and now
there's
there's
something
a new indie thing coming out, right?
And what is that? You mean like groups like Limp Bizkit and
No,
Disturbed?
that's exactly everything
Stained?
I hate.
You mean good bands like that, right?
No, no, not at
like
all.
Puddle of Mud? Is that the stuff you're talking about?
No, I can't stand that.
Like who is one of the bands that is leading this new rebellion as far for you?
Oh, well, I'm not saying about that. I'm just saying I'm not really big on that. I was born in '85. I'm in high school now, and I'm a fan of all the stuff that was before my time, like Black Flag and Fugazi.
Really? What are the kids in high school into now? I didn't mean to call you kids, but what are
the
your
cool thing is pop punk, the Blink 182 thing, which,
like Jimmy Eat World?
Exactly.
Stuff like that. So completely unlistenable.
Exactly, and we're like the not cool punk kids because we like Operation Ivy and Dead Kennedys, all the stuff from back in the day.
So you and what was the thing that got you into that kind of music? What was your first exposure to it?
I don't even know. Just like
what
my
was the
one
first...
friend, hey, listen to this band from a while ago, and then the internet is really, that's lots of information.
Oh, wow. So that's actually, so you use it as a tool to kind of get exposed to stuff that isn't necessarily current.
Exactly.
Now, do you buy the records? Do you burn a lot of them, or how?
No, I'm not a fan of burning. I mean, it's like home taping from back and then. But I buy stuff from a long time ago.
Do you think that home taping is killing music?
That was the opinion.
I'm still leading that campaign. Home taping is killing music. I haven't even gotten up to all this CDR stuff
burning
yet.
And...
Exactly. I'm still just at home taping. And I think I'm winning the war. Home taping is down.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It's Hasu.
Did you say Hasu at your school?
No, I don't know what those guys are talking about.
Now, when you hear those guys...
Those are the guys that I beat up. No, I'm kidding.
You beat guys like that up?
No, I'm a junior, but I'm not really into beating people up.
Now, do you hear guys like that? Are those the guys at school?
We have our group of kids who are they hang out in the library and play computer games.
And are they always
They probably know about the Hasu. I think I'm going to ask them about it tomorrow.
Are they always in slap fights with each other? And
Actually,
things like that?
Yeah, I don't. Those guys, they're kind of creepy.
You think those guys are kind of creepy?
Yeah.
Now, you are a junior now.
Yeah.
How is school going for you?
School? That's pretty good.
Do you have your permit yet?
Actually, I failed the test.
So you don't have your driver's permit?
No,
you don't
I
have
do
your
not.
license? Do you have your learner's permit?
I have no driving permit, anything. I'm not allowed to drive legally.
But you want one?
I ride a bicycle.
But you did try to get your license, though?
Yeah.
Now, what did you fail? The written test or the?
Yeah, the written test for my permit. I have no permit. But
what on the written test didn't you know? I'll guide you through this.
But it's not like I got a 10 on the test. You have to get an 80, and I got a 79 or something like that.
And you have to wait a few months to retake it?
No, it's crazy what they make you do. I have to go to driving school where they bring me to the DMV and I take the test.
Okay.
And then I do 6 hours on the road. But this is way off the subject of indie rock, but...
Well, it is, but it isn't. Well, actually, it completely is. But
yeah, and All right, my second thing that I wanted to bring up.
Uh-huh.
What was the deal with the Smirnoff Ice guy?
I don't know.
That was just a travesty.
Wasn't that horrible?
I mean, I listened to it for 5 minutes, and I was like, I'm going to listen to something else. And I listened to some jazz music for 20 minutes, and then I turn you back on, and he's, like, rattling off this anti-Semitic stuff.
I know. Well, I put him in check.
Oh.
I put him in. Don't worry about
Why
that.
didn't you cut him off after a few minutes?
I don't know. It was like looking at a car crash.
That
You ever look at a car crash?
Yeah, actually.
You can't take your eyes off of it, but it's not. It's ugly.
Like watch it in slow motion over and over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But don't worry. I don't even think he was a representative.
Yeah,
of
neither.
the
I think he was
Smirnoff
some like
Corporation.
drunk kid.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Now, are you straight edge?
I actually am.
And what led you to that choice?
Well, I'm a sports guy, not like football and basketball at school, but
we can agree what the best sport is, right? Basketball.
Yeah. Like I skate and stuff.
Basketball
and
is
I
the
just
best
found it kind of unnecessary to put stuff into my body that my body doesn't need, and it's just an expensive way of killing yourself.
Now, does that include eating? Do you eat well? Or do
Well,
you eat,
I eat junk food, but yeah, I do eat like good stuff.
do you
I
eat
don't know.
vegetables?
Plus, it's cool to go to parties and smoke and drink.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's
Stay
like-
away from those sad sacks.
Yeah.
You're on the right path.
Oh yeah.
And you know what the only club you should join is? I say is the Friends of Tom.
Really?
All you have to do is email toms@wfmu.org and say, I want to be a friend of Tom. And you'll be in my club.
Oh, I'm gonna go do that right now.
Okay, I look forward to your to adding you to the ranks.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, stay. Do you actually have an X on your hand right now?
No, I do not.
Do you ever draw an X on your hand?
Not really. No.
Okay. Why not?
Why not? I don't know actually.
It's no. You should make a statement tomorrow and draw an X on your hand.
Well, I mean, most of my non-straight edge friends know I am straight edge.
So you don't need to say it.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. But so you do ice skating? Is that what you said?
No, like skateboarding.
Oh, skateboarding.
Skating.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're
that's
not like figure skating.
No.
Uh-huh.
Whoa, no.
You should look into that though.
Really?
See if you can.
Are you into that?
No, actually, I'm into basketball, which is
Oh,
the best sport of all. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's so simple.
Really? Actually, I run track. That's pretty simple.
Yeah,
You
track
know,
is
one
simple.
foot and the other foot.
Yeah, that's true. But as long as you stay fit and you're ready for the fight, you, my friend, will rise above.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for calling.
Oh, sure.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
Hey, how was everybody's Thanksgiving? Good, huh? Mine was good, and you know something I wanted to know is maybe people can help me out. Is Black Friday is the day that follows Thanksgiving in retail lingo. It's called Black Friday. I've heard because it's the day that businesses, financial ledgers move from the red to the black, because now it's just cash city from that point on for the next 5 weeks. It's the holiday season officially begins the day after Thanksgiving. But I was watching the news, and the one thing I saw was they had cameras at like malls at like 4 a.m, and it was this wave of people like waiting for the mall to open or for the toy store to open. Then they would finally open the doors, and the people would run in like animals. And the only thing I don't understand is why? What's so special about the day after Thanksgiving that you have to go to the mall at 5 a.m? And then they talk to some woman, and she's like, they got there's certain toys in there I got to get before they're gone. It's like, well, you could have gotten them on Wednesday. They don't release the new toys the day after Thanksgiving. It's not like, hey, all we have in the toy store is Risk and Monopoly. Now, the day after Thanksgiving, let's make some good toys. And we'll release them to the public in a very limited quantity. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Tom? This Thanksgiving was pretty good for me.
Was it Hasu?
Yeah, it was very Hasu.
Are you one of those Hasu kids?
Yeah, but I'm not really so much of a geek.
Hey, you know what, though? Let me just see. This is for you and your friends, okay? This is a collective thing. Let's try to get some focus on these phone calls, okay?
What?
Let's try to bring a little focus to these phone calls when you call up.
What do you mean?
Let's think of something to talk about.
I have something to talk
Like
about.
let's try to come to the phone conversation with a topic.
I have a topic.
Okay, what is it?
That turkeys are related to geese.
Okay. Would you like to expound on that?
Yeah, I just thought, like, they look the same and they're both kind of ducks.
Now, this was a topic.
Yeah.
The turkeys are kind of related to geese.
Yeah, and I think that people should stop just always eating turkeys and sometimes eat geese for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's logical. They're related.
I just want to say one thing quick. The views expressed in this phone call are not necessarily those of WFMU. Go ahead.
What?
You can you continue.
Okay, well, yeah. Well.
So you didn't come with a real topic. You came with a thought.
Yeah.
This is what I want for next week. Are you going to call in next week?
Yeah, I am. I'm a big fan of the show.
This is what I need for next week from you.
Okay.
This is what I want you to work on all week. You ready for this?
Yeah.
A topic that you would like to discuss with me, and 3 points about that topic that you would like to express. Okay? So what are you going to do next week?
I'm going to get a topic for next week.
Uh-huh.
And 3 points that I'd like to express for that topic.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about that guy saying that he beats kids like you up at school?
Well, I don't know. That's freedom of speech, but...
Could you beat him, you think?
What?
Could you think you could beat him?
I think I could kill him.
Why don't I stage a fight here? You and him. Fight it out live on the air. Would you do that?
So, yeah.
How big are you? How big are you?
I'm 5'6".
5'6"?
Yeah.
You think I can take you?
I don't know. You're too Hasu for me, so...
I'm too Hasu for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be just intimidating, the idea of squaring off against me.
Yeah. But I think I could beat that other kid up.
Well, maybe we'll set up a fight on the air.
Yeah.
That would be Hasu, huh?
That would be Hasu.
All right. Well, I plan on talking to you next week, so...
Okay. Next week I'll bring my topic.
And
3 points of expression.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
You have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. When it's all said and done, that kid is kind of Hasu, I must say. WFMU, you're on the air.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
All right. How was your holidays?
Pretty Hasu. How about yours?
They were hot, Sue.
What's Hasu mean?
It means pretty happening, pretty cool.
That's right.
Did you finish your Christmas shopping? Do you celebrate Christmas, or are you Jewish, or?
How dare you ask me personal?
I'm saying maybe you celebrate Hanukkah. I don't know. Did you finish any shopping you had to do? Did you finish?
I did a little bit of shopping for the holidays.
Did you get it over with?
This show is about inclusion, not exclusion. The last thing we need, my friend, are hate mongers who look to divide rather than unite.
Well, did you finish your shopping?
No, I didn't.
Did you even start?
I did a little shopping.
Are you one of those guys that waits till like the last second?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No, I started my shopping.
Oh, all right.
How about you? Are you one of those
I'm
guys that
done.
waits till the You're done.
Finished it in October.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like the throngs of maniacs like you mentioned before,
Mhm.
running all over the place. And and actually it's cheaper if you shop early because they actually jack the prices up during the holidays.
Like, what kind of stuff did you buy for people?
I bought a lot of gift certificates this year.
Really?
People like, especially my family, like to go out to dinner, and I pick gift certificates of their favorite restaurants.
Oh, that's nice.
And they like that. That's always a nice gift.
That's very thoughtful.
A couple record store gift certificates, stuff like that.
Now, what are you looking to get for Christmas?
Ooh, I like
A new bike? Shiny new bike?
No, I'm not really into bikes too much. I like gift certificates as well to like record stores I like, bookstores I like.
Well, maybe.
If I'm good.
If you're good.
All right, I'm glad you had a good holiday.
I'm glad you had a good holiday. Apparently you did. And I'm glad you have your shopping done. But I have to tell you, caller.
Yeah.
We've got a challenge. The kids want to fight. The other kid is calling back to fight the other kid.
What's with this kids fighting today?
So I've got to discuss. This is hot stuff. This is like newsbreaker.
And you're like the referee, or are you the?
I'm like the Bill Butel right now.
You're the Bill
I'm the
Butel?
Ernie Anastas.
You're not Jim. Who is it? Jensen you mentioned
No,
before?
Jim Jensen is no longer with us.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here.
Well,
I'm
all right,
doing it.
I'll let you do your thing, and you have you get that shopping done.
Great. Well, thank you. Maybe
All
you
right.
can help me.
Maybe I will.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Bye. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
What's with all this kid stuff? I haven't listened to you in a while, and you're just being taken over by these violent, angry young kids.
I'm being taken over by them?
Well, it seems they got a whole Korean American underground going. It's, I mean, not that I have that much focus either right now, but
Well, how old are you, may I ask?
Oh, I'm 37 years young.
Mm-hmm. And have you ever fought anyone?
No, I've been punched and walked away happy.
Mm-hmm. So you were punched and you walked away happy?
Yes.
What were the circumstances regarding you getting punched?
Because the drunker I get, the less violent I get.
So you get less violent when you get more, you get more like loving,
Docile, peace-loving alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
And you can take a punch.
So you can take a punch when you're.
You can take a punch, but it's been a while.
Uh-huh.
I mean, honestly, I would say these. Well, I mean, okay, one guy said he listened to Black Flag supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. I mean, because representing the oldsters, you had some guy, pushing for Wire Train.
Somebody called and mentioned Wire Train. Yeah.
I know I'm going back now. We're going back here, a little reference beyond our current state of affairs, but Wire Train and Haircut 100. I know there was nothing going on in New York.
Yeah, except for Haircut 100.
Well, that's the best you could do at the Ritz at the time.
Was the occasional Haircut 100 show, or maybe Urban Blight?
Yeah, and Miracle Legion, and he enjoyed the book, and he enjoyed the show,
mm-hmm.
but he didn't think there was anything good going on in New York.
But he liked Haircut 100 over all the other bands that were going on.
Well, I remember when I saw Ian MacKaye and other DC at the time, what I thought were kids, shaving each other's heads
mm-hmm.
at a Dead Kennedys show.
Okay.
So could that have been the haircuts, the 100 haircuts they were talking about?
He was talking about Love Plus One and Favorite Day and Nick Hayward and all that stuff.
And me, I thought like Pylon was popular.
No, he was talking about literally the band Haircut 100.
Right. Well, yeah, actually, I understood that, but the irony just about.
I know, and I'm being the iron fist of reality.
Oh, don't be a hater, as these kids say.
Okay, I shan't.
Okay.
Well, thanks for calling.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
No. See you, babe.
All right, bye. Don't call me babe, please. Whatever you do. The phone number 201-200-9368. There are a mere 7 minutes left in the program. The Open Phone Tuesday portion of the show is winding to a close. Nickel and Dime Radio, hosted by Small Change. Coming up shortly. I am Hasu. That's what the kids say. You know who's Hasu? Dave, my co-producer here on the show. You are Hasu, Dave. No problem. Wouldn't hurt you to throw that back at me.
Oh, well, you're obviously Hasu.
Oh, well, thank you. Dave says I'm Hasu also. And as the show usually does, at 5 of 11, the air has run out of the balloon. Now is about the time we usually get a call from J.J. McClure, who is the Cannonball Run aficionado of the program. But to tell you the truth, I'll take a call from anyone. 201-200-9368. Actually, you know what? I don't want a call from just anyone. I want a good, top-notch call to end the show. WFMU, you're on the air.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Yeah, sorry to keep calling, but I
That's
just wanted
all right.
to clear up that fight thing you were saying.
So you're the straight edge guy.
Yes.
So you're willing to fight him on the air.
Listen, I was only kidding about beating the Hasu kids up at school,
Mm-hmm.
and, I was just joking, and then you told the Hasu kid I wanted to fight him.
But that kid started talking tough.
Exactly. So
He
now
said-
I
he
will
said-
fight him because he's insulted my integrity.
He said he could kill you in a fight.
How 5'6", he weighs like 90 pounds probably.
He said he could take you down.
Dude, I'm like 6 foot and like 150.
Well, you know what? You email me the information. You email me your information. The Hasu kid, you email me your information, and we will set up a teenage fight here at WFMU.
All right, dude, give me the email address and let me write
Okay.
it down.
Tom S. T-O-M-S.
Wait, I don't have a pen or
Okay,
anything.
well, get your pen.
Give me a second.
Absolutely, you take your time.
I have like useless
This
dead
is
ink
important.
pens in my
This
room.
is important.
Oh, here's a pencil.
Pencil will do.
All right, let me get some paper. I don't have. Oh, here we go. You know what this is right here? I'm going to write on my driver's manual, which helped me in no way at all.
Okay, right on your driver's
I will. All right, what is that email address?
Tom S. T-O-M-S.
Yeah.
At WFMU.org.
All right. And what do you want me to send you?
Just send me your information, and then I'll keep it on file, and the other kid will. Send me his, and then we'll set up an actual fight. A bare-knuckle brawl here in the studio.
So you want me to, like, drive up there with my boxing gloves and...
No boxing gloves.
No.
Bare-knuckle brawl.
Bare knuckle? Like, could we set up, like, a bar room thing with, like, bottles that I can break and poke him with?
We'll see. It might just I might give you each a weapon of your choice.
Really?
Yes.
Could I have, like, a medieval weapon?
If that's what I throw in the ring, then that is
Like
if
a
you
board
get to
with
it
a nail
first.
in it.
If you get to it first, it'll be yours.
All right, I'm looking
I'm
forward
going to
to
put a mace in the
taking
ring
on
and
the
a
Hasu crowd.
I'm going to put a mace in there and a blow
Yeah, a
dryer.
mace.
And a blow dryer. Like an old-fashioned like head covering blow dryer. So we'll see who will win the war. But email me and we'll set
I
up
will.
the fight.
All right, it's
All
gonna
right?
be Hasu.
It's going to be Hasu. All right.
All right, see you
Thanks
later,
for calling.
man.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Maybe that'll be the Christmas spectacular. Will be these two kids fighting. WFMU, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
My name's Joe.
How you doing, Joe?
I just wanted to call in and say, how, I don't know, utterly stupid these kids are that keep coming on saying Hasu.
So you don't think it's very Hasu?
Yeah, I don't think it's
You're going to be saying it, though, at work tomorrow. What do you do for a living?
me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a senior in high school.
Oh, okay. So you're...
For a living, I, study education, mathematics, and, that type of thing.
What school do you go to?
I go to Mountain Lakes High School.
So you're out there in the sticks, kind of.
Yeah, sort of. I used to go to, more. I just moved here like 2 years ago, so.
Where'd you move here from?
Patterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
So
it's like the Karate Kid, kind of.
yeah, something like that. Only minus the karate and coordination.
Mm-hmm. Are you like Ralph Macchio?
Who is Ralph Macchio? I'm sorry.
He's the kid from the Karate Kid.
Oh.
He's Danny.
No, not at all.
No?
I watched that kid because I thought the old guy was funny, actually.
Pat Morita?
What was his name? Mr.
Miyagi? Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi. There we go.
You know what I'm going to do when these kids come up here and fight?
What?
I'm going to train both of them first. That way
What is it? The art of the crane.
That way they each have a fair shot. I'm going to train both of them. You know what style? Crane style, like you said.
Uh-huh.
Wax on, wax off.
Well, I
teach
mean,
him that. Paint the fence.
I don't know. I definitely think that the kid that doesn't say Haas, you could probably, beat the crap out of the other one.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the kids come over and paint my house. And that'll be like me teaching.
Whoever gets the middle first.
Well, no, that's just the training. Then they're going to rake the leaves off my lawn to help develop their biceps. And then maybe I'll have them do some menial labor around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Maybe paint the new 3-point stripe on the our neighborhood's basketball court.
I don't know if I trust them to that, especially once they have to.
And then
probably get graffiti all over it.
Then the fight. Oh, wait till you see this fight. It will be the most glorious fight ever. As these two kids thrash each other within an inch of their lives.
You get like weapons and stuff.
One weapon apiece. One weapon
enter
apiece.
A cage, one man leaves.
That's how it works.
Steel cage.
2 kids in, 1 kid out. Well, you know what? It's time for me to say goodnight.
All right.
Well, thanks for calling, though.
All right.
Okay, you have a good night.
Thanks.
All right, bye. Hey, everybody, you've been listening to WFMU East Orange, WXHD Mount Hope worldwide on the World Wide Web at WFMU.org. Thank you to my guest, Michael Azerrad. His book, Our Band Could Be Your Life, is, I guess, in bookstores now. I've been waiting my whole life to say that. So I just did, so now I can die in peace. Stay tuned for Nickel and Dime Radio with Small Change in the House. Coming up in 5 seconds. I will be back next week. Oh, next week's show is going to be maybe the best show I've ever done. It's a secret present for all of you. That's all I'll say. Stay tuned for Nickel and Dime Radio.